5 reasons you'll either love my books or hate them. Number 1. I spell y'all correctly instead of the way the dictionary has it misspelled. Unlike most people seem to think, y'all isn't a contraction of you all. It's a contraction of ya all. Ya is a Southern colloquialism meaning you. So, the proper way to contract the term is to keep the A with the first word and replace the A in the second word with the apostrophe. Number 2. My books are all epically long, 150,000 to 240,000 words long. I hate feeling like I'm just getting to know the characters when a standard romance ends at 50,000 to 80,000 words. I also hate getting to the end of a book only to find it ends on a cliffhanger, so I have to buy another book or two to get the rest of the story. So I try to write my books to tell the whole story of the main characters without worrying about word count. Unfortunately, even though I hate duets and trilogies, I still have 2 books in my Galactic Wrestling Association series that technically fall into the duet category for one couple. When self-publishing, books are limited to page counts by the printing service based on their trim size. So I couldn't put all of Liam and Riley's story in Mistakenly Married, but I also couldn't tell Josh and Tegan's or Brent and Aiken's stories without including the beginning of Riley and Liam's. But then again, if I'd have tried to move Riley and Liam's portion of Mistakenly Married over to Renting Riley, then it would have been too long to print in an 8-inch by 5-inch trim size. And now you know why I went up to a 9-inch by 6-inch trim size when I took my books wide instead of just publishing with KDP. Number 3. I classify my books as contemporary romance, not fantasy. I can understand why some would say they fit the fantasy category because my settings are based on how I wish the world was and don't reflect the reality of the times we live in. But to me, reading is an escape from all the negativity in the world today. So while I do have some horrible villains, most of my characters are too good to be true. And the good guys always win. Number 4. I write in third person with a deep point of view. I tried to write in first person, as is the current trend, but I just couldn't do it. It just felt too narcissistic to me, especially the love scenes. So while I can get into the mind of each character to write their thoughts about their partner in first person, I just can't do it all that way. I've decided it's because I'm a voyeur, not an exhibitionist. Number 5. I write steamy books with lots of profanity. Writing is my therapy. I started writing Courting Kay to deal with my grief after losing my mom and adoptive dad, thinking I was going to write a sweet romance with main characters that looked like them so they could live on forever. But apparently, I was in the angry stage of grief at some point in the process of writing my first book, so I rebelled like I couldn't before. Randy's teenage trauma in Wrestling with Randy is actually an adaptation of the true story of how my parents lectured me and burned my poetry notebook in the fireplace when I was 15. Unfortunately, unlike Randy in my books, I wasn't able to get over the psychological scars to be able to write the words they found obscene until I was almost 50 and my parents had both passed. So, my sweet romance turned very dirty when I made the characters who looked like my mom and daddy do and say things much more graphic than the relatively tame poetry I wrote as a teenager that they found offensive. Yes, I talked to my therapist about it at the time, and she agreed that it was the perfect way to free myself from the pain their rigid rules caused. Now, I write all my characters to be true to themselves, using all the words I used to feel ashamed of even thinking. And I make no apologies for how many F-bombs my characters drop, because I've learned over the years that there are no bad words. It's the feelings behind the words that are good or bad, and there's nothing bad behind "I effing love you." Although, my characters are just as likely to say "I love effing you." But again, there aren't really any bad feelings behind those words. And let's be honest, they're much more likely to just exclaim a curse word by itself to show emotion than anything else. but I promise, you won't see many, if any, shouts of F you. In fact, it's much more likely they'll beg, F me instead. Only in my books, I don't censor myself the way I am for social media now. But that's why I put a disclaimer in all my book descriptions that specifically states my books include graphic sex scenes and profanity and are intended for adult readers 18 plus who aren't easily offended. So everyone has been forewarned before they download or purchase my books. So, if you're a voyeur who enjoys epically long, steamy romance novels, which are only partially based in reality, and are sprinkled with liberal uses of expletives and southern colloquialisms, then you might enjoy my books. While technically only Mistakenly Married and Winning Riley aren't standalones, I highly recommend you start with Courting Kay and read both the Heart's Destiny and Galactic Wrestling Association series in the reading order on my website, leahmaywright.com/books.